Shadows in the Boardroom. Olivia. Bennett fidgeted with the worn edges of her notebook, her fingers tracing patterns on the paper as 12 pairs of eyes studied her from around the gleaming conference table. 3 weeks ago, she had been arranging fiction novels in the quiet comfort of her small-town library. Now, by some cosmic joke, or more accurately, her late Aunt Josephine's surprising will, she owned 40% of Tech Fusion, a promising startup that had caught the attention of Vega Industries. Ms. Bennett, do you have anything to add? The question cut through the air like a blade. Dominic Vega, CEO of Vega Industries and rumored corporate predator, leaned forward in his chair at the head of the table. His dark eyes were unreadable, his posture impeccable in a suit that probably cost more than her entire wardrobe. At 38, he had built an empire from nothing, leaving a trail of crushed competitors and, if rumors were true, broken hearts. Olivia's voice faltered, then strengthened. I believe the proposed merger undervalues Tech Fusion's intellectual property, particularly the neural interface patents. The room fell silent. She hadn't spoken a word in the previous hour's discussion. A slight smile curved the corner of Dominic's mouth. Interesting. Please elaborate. Olivia took a deep breath. The valuation doesn't account for application potential beyond gaming. The medical implications alone would triple the projected 5-year revenue. Dominic's expression remained neutral, but something flickered in his eyes. You've reviewed the technical specifications? My aunt left detailed notes. I've spent the past 3 weeks studying them. What Olivia didn't mention was the nights she'd spent teaching herself enough neurophysics to understand Josephine's work, determination pushing her past intimidation. After the meeting, Olivia escaped to the relative quiet of the hallway, leaning against the wall and closing her eyes. Her heart pounded against her ribs like a trapped bird. Ms. Bennett. Her eyes flew open. Dominic Vega stood before her, tall and imposing. Your analysis was unexpected. His voice carried no inflection that revealed his thoughts. Olivia straightened, clutching her notebook like a shield. I may not belong in your world, Mr. Vega, but I understand value when I see it. And what makes you think you don't belong? His question was gentle, surprising her. Everything. She gestured vaguely at herself. Simple dress, practical shoes, lack of jewelry. I was a librarian until 3 weeks ago. This isn't my element. Dominic studied her for a long moment. Elements can change, Miss Bennett. Water becomes ice or steam depending on the conditions. He handed her a business card with a handwritten number on the back. My direct line. I'd like to discuss your aunt's technology further. Over dinner tomorrow. Before she could respond, his assistant approached with an urgent message. Dominic nodded curtly and turned to leave. Mr. Vega, Olivia called after him, finding an unexpected courage. Why me? You could speak with the technical team. He paused, looking back at her. Because they see patents and profit margins. You see possibilities. With that, he disappeared down the corridor, leaving Olivia holding his card and wondering if she'd just made a terrible mistake, or found an unexpected ally in this unfamiliar world of glass towers and power plays. Either way, something told her that Dominic Vega was not the man whispered about in business tabloids. There was something else behind those careful eyes, something that recognized the same quality in her. Unspoken worth. The restaurant Dominic had chosen was understated yet elegant, tucked away from the city's flashier establishments. Olivia arrived 15 minutes early, her simple navy dress the most formal thing she owned. She'd spent an hour debating whether to buy something new before deciding authenticity mattered more than appearances. Dominic was already there, reviewing documents at a corner table. When he noticed her, he stood, his expression warming slightly. You're early, he observed, gesturing to the chair across from him. A habit from library days. Being late meant someone couldn't find what they needed. She settled into her seat, noticing he'd closed his work files immediately upon her arrival, a small courtesy that surprised her. An admirable perspective. Most people I meet are strategically late to demonstrate their importance. Olivia smiled despite her nervousness. Perhaps that's why they're meeting with you in the first place, to feel important. His eyebrows rose slightly. Well, I'm meeting with you because I own 40% of something you want, she replied candidly. Dominic's unexpected laugh drew glances from nearby tables. Refreshingly direct. Though I'd argue I'm here because you understand something I need to understand better. Their conversation shifted to her aunt's technology. Olivia found herself growing animated as she explained Josephine's vision for neural interfaces that could help patients with motor disabilities. Dominic asked incisive questions that revealed a deeper understanding than she'd anticipated. "You've actually read the research," she realized aloud. "I make it a point to understand what I'm investing in." He studied her over his glass. "You've done impressive work learning this field so quickly. I had a good teacher in my aunt, and librarians know how to research." She hesitated. "But I still don't understand why Vega Industries is interested." "This isn't your usual market," a shadow passed over his face. "My younger brother had a spinal injury when we were teenagers. He recovered, but—" He paused, seemingly surprised by his own disclosure. "Technology like your aunt's could change lives." The moment felt unexpectedly intimate. Olivia saw something genuine beneath his carefully maintained exterior, something personal driving his interest beyond profit. Their dinner was interrupted by Dominic's phone vibrating insistently. He frowned at the screen. "I apologize, but there's an urgent situation at our Singapore office. I need to handle this." "Of course," Olivia said, trying to hide her disappointment. To her surprise, he didn't leave. Instead, he made several decisive calls from their table, efficiently navigating a production crisis with a calm authority that was impressive to witness. Between calls, he apologized, but Olivia assured him she didn't mind. "Actually, it's educational," she admitted. "You're different when you work, focused but not unkind. Not what people say about you." His eyes met hers. "And what do they say?" "That you're brilliant but ruthless. The velvet hammer of tech acquisitions." He smiled faintly. "Reputations serve their purpose. As shields?" "Sometimes," he studied her. "What about you? The reluctant heiress who quotes poetry and business notes?" Olivia blinked in surprise. "You notice that? Do not go where the path may lead. Go instead where there is no path and leave a trail." Emerson in your merger feedback. The evening stretched longer than planned. When they finally left, a light rain had begun falling. Dominic insisted on driving her home, and Olivia found herself directing him to her modest apartment in a decidedly unglamorous neighborhood. "I haven't found a new place yet," she explained, suddenly self-conscious about the contrast to his world. Dominic pulled up to her building and turned to her. "Miss Bennett, Olivia, I'd like you to come to the research facility tomorrow. See what your aunt's work could become with proper funding. Why trust me with this? I'm still an outsider." "Perhaps that's precisely why," he said quietly. "You see value where others see dollar signs. It's uncommon." As she stepped out of his car, Olivia realized something had shifted. In the space between words and silences, they had begun to recognize each other not as opponents across a negotiating table, but as two people seeing beyond surfaces to something more meaningful underneath. Bridges of Understanding Vega Industries research facility sprawled across a renovated waterfront building, its glass walls reflecting the morning sun. Inside, Olivia followed Dominic through security checkpoints, acutely aware of curious glances from employees. The rumors had clearly spread. The small-town librarian who had somehow caught the attention of Dominic Vega. "This is our neuroscience division," Dominic explained as they entered a vast laboratory space. "Established 3 years ago, though it's been more theoretical until now." Dr. Gabriella Winters, the division head, greeted them with barely concealed surprise. "Mr. Vega, we weren't expecting you today." "Ms. Bennett needs to understand our capabilities," he replied simply. "She's considering a partnership." Gabriella's professional demeanor shifted subtly. "Of course. The tech fusion heir. We're all curious about your aunt's work." The undercurrent was clear. What could this ordinary woman possibly contribute? Dominic sensed it too. "Dr. Winters, Ms. Bennett has identified applications for the neural interface technology that our team overlooked. I'd like her to see the Graham Project." Gabriella's eyes widened. "The Graham Project? But that's precisely why we're here," Dominic finished, his tone brooking no argument. They were led to a smaller lab where a young man in a wheelchair was working with a technician. Electrodes connected to a sleek headset fed data to nearby monitors. "This is Graham," Dominic said softly. "He's been paralyzed from the waist down for 8 years. Graham looked up with a bright smile. "Hey, you must be the library lady. Dom says you might have the missing piece to my puzzle." Olivia glanced at Dominic, startled by both the casual nickname and the implication. I'm not sure Your aunt's interface design, Dominic explained. It's fundamentally different from our approach. More intuitive. Graham has volunteered for our research program, but progress has been slower than we hoped. For the next hour, Olivia observed the current system's limitations. Drawing on Josephine's notes, she tentatively suggested adjustments that might improve neural signal processing. Gabriella initially resisted, but gradually became engaged in the discussion, her skepticism giving way to professional curiosity. By lunchtime, they had sketched a potential hybrid approach that had even the senior technicians excited. Later, Dominic led Olivia to the facility's rooftop garden. The space was unexpectedly lush, a green oasis above the city's concrete expanse. "This is beautiful," she said, running her fingers along flowering vines that climbed a pergola. "My mother was a gardener," Dominic replied, surprising her again with personal information. "She believed in creating beauty wherever you work." They sat on a bench overlooking the harbor, sharing a simple lunch from the cafeteria. "Why did you show me Graham?" Olivia asked finally. That seemed very personal for a business discussion. Dominic was quiet for a moment. "Because I wanted you to see that this isn't just an acquisition to me." He turned to face her. "You were right about my reputation. I've made difficult decisions, closed companies that couldn't be saved, replaced leaders who couldn't adapt. But this project is different, Jao, because of your brother." "Partly," he gazed at the horizon. "When you have power, it becomes easy to see everything as a transaction. People become assets or liabilities. Success becomes a number. And what am I?" she asked softly. "An asset?" His eyes met hers. "You're unexpected. A reminder of why I started building in the first place, to solve real problems, not just to win." Something shifted between them in that quiet moment. Olivia saw past the polished exterior to the man who built garden sanctuaries and research facilities and remembered his mother's wisdom amid billion-dollar decisions. "I have something to show you, too," she said impulsively. "Tomorrow evening, if you're free." "It's not as impressive as all this, but it matters to me." Dominic looked intrigued. "I'll clear my schedule." The next evening, Olivia brought Dominic to the community center where she volunteered. Children from underserved neighborhoods gathered for the weekly reading program she had established before her life changed. As Dominic sat somewhat awkwardly among excited children, accepting a worn copy of The Little Prince from a small girl who insisted he read the part with different voices, Olivia watched a transformation. His carefully maintained reserve softened, replaced by genuine engagement. Two worlds were bridging, his of innovation and influence, hers of community and quiet purpose, each finding unexpected value in the other. Shattered glass, the headline glared from Olivia's phone screen. Vega's latest acquisition target, tech fusion heiress. Below it, a grainy photo showed her and Dominic leaving the community center, his hand lightly touching her back as they navigated past a group of children. Her stomach clenched as she scrolled through the article. Anonymous sources claimed Dominic was softening up the inexperienced Bennett heir to secure Tech Fusion's patents at a bargain price. The writer noted his familiar strategy of personal charm before corporate takeover. Olivia set the phone down, her hands trembling slightly. The past 2 weeks had been transformative. Dominic had become a constant presence in her life, their conversations extending beyond business to shared ideas and personal histories. She'd begun to trust him, to see the thoughtful man behind the powerful persona. But doubt crept in like a winter chill. What if she had misread everything? What if the genuine connection she felt was simply a calculated business strategy? Her phone buzzed with a message from Dominic. "Meeting with potential investors today. They're excited about our integrated approach. Dinner later?" Our approach. The word stung now, tainted by suspicion. "Can't tonight. Busy with paperwork." She typed back, hating how easily the excuse came. At Tech Fusion's offices that afternoon, Olivia found herself ambushed by Preston Wells, the company's CFO and her aunt's longtime colleague. "I've been trying to speak with you privately for days," he said, closing her office door. "The board is concerned about your interactions with Vega." Olivia straightened. "My discussions with Mr. Vega are professional." Preston's expression was pained. "Olivia, we've known each other since you were a child. Your aunt would want me to protect you." He placed a folder on her desk. "These are records of Vega's previous acquisitions. Note the pattern. The documents detailed 3 companies Vega Industries had acquired in the past 5 years. Each had initially resisted selling, then suddenly accepted terms well below market value after Dominic personally engaged with the company leadership. He identifies the emotional weak point and exploits it, Preston explained gently. With Horizon Biotech, he befriended the founder's daughter. With NextWave, he mentored the young CEO. They all believed he cared. They all ended up selling at a loss. Olivia felt ill. That doesn't prove anything about our situation, doesn't it? You went from questioning his offer to spending every evening with him. The research collaboration agreement you drafted gives him access to Josephine's core technology before any formal acquisition. Preston leaned forward. He's brilliant at making people feel special while serving his interests. After Preston left, Olivia sat motionless, memories replaying with new context. Dominic asking about her childhood. Dominic remembering details about her favorite books. Dominic introducing her to Graham, who might simply be a prop in an elaborate performance. Her phone buzzed again. Everything all right? Before she could respond, her assistant announced an urgent visitor. Francine Diaz, elegant and poised, entered without waiting for permission. Ms. Bennett, I apologize for the intrusion. I'm Vega Industries' chief counsel. I know who you are, Olivia replied, struggling to maintain composure. Francine placed a contract on the desk. Mr. Vega asked me to deliver our formal offer. He wanted you to have time to review it before dinner. Olivia stared at the document. He's not presenting it himself? Something like sympathy crossed Francine's face. Dominic prefers to separate personal relationships from final business terms. It's his pattern. The words echoed Preston's warning. Alone again, Olivia finally opened the contract. The terms were generous, far more than Tech Fusion's market value. Yet a clause buried in the legal language transferred all intellectual property rights to Vega Industries, with no guarantee the technology would be developed as discussed. When Dominic called that evening, she let it go to voicemail. His message sounded genuinely concerned. Olivia, please call me. Something's wrong and I'd rather discuss it directly than guess. She texted back only, I received your contract. Very efficient. I'll have my lawyers review it. His response came quickly. That wasn't how I wanted this presented. Please let me explain in person. But Olivia couldn't bear to see him, afraid her resolve would crumble against her growing feelings. Instead, she spent the night reviewing every interaction, every conversation, searching for the truth amid broken trust. By morning, she had made her decision. She would protect her aunt's legacy in her own heart, even if it meant walking away from what might have been the most significant connection of her life. The language of trust rain pounded against the windows of Tech Fusion's conference room, as lawyers from both companies reviewed contract revisions. 3 days had passed since Olivia had last spoken to Dominic. He hadn't attended the negotiations, sending Francine and his executive team instead. Confirmation, Olivia told herself, that their connection had been strategic rather than genuine. She had countered Vega Industries' offer with terms that protected her aunt's vision. Joint ownership of the patents, dedicated funding for rehabilitation applications, and a seat on the board to ensure the technology wouldn't be shelved or diverted to purely commercial uses. These terms are unprecedented, Francine noted, reviewing Olivia's proposals. I'll need to consult with Mr. Vega. Of course, Olivia replied coolly, ignoring the hollow feeling in her chest. After the meeting, she lingered in the empty conference room, watching raindrops trace patterns down the glass. Her phone buzzed with a text from Preston. Board meeting tomorrow at 9. Several members want to discuss alternative buyers. The prospect should have relieved her. Instead, it left her feeling adrift. A knock interrupted her thoughts. She turned, expecting her assistant, and found Dominic standing in the doorway, rain darkening his shoulders. You're avoiding me, he said simply. Olivia steeled herself against the concern in his eyes. I'm protecting my interests. Isn't that what we're both doing? He stepped into the room but maintained distance between them. I deserved that, but I'd like a chance to explain. The contract explained everything, she replied, especially the buried clause about intellectual property rights. Dominic looked genuinely confused. What clause? She retrieved her copy, highlighting the section. As he read it, his expression hardened. This wasn't in the draft I approved. His voice was dangerously quiet. Francine has some explaining to do. Convenient, Olivia said, though doubt crept into her certainty. Call her right now. Ask her. The challenge in his eyes made her reach for her phone. To her surprise, Francine immediately admitted to the addition. The legal team felt it was standard protection, Mr. Vega. All our acquisitions include similar language. Remove it, he ordered, and any other modifications I didn't explicitly approve. After hanging up, they stood in uncomfortable silence until Dominic spoke again. Preston showed you my acquisition history, didn't he? Olivia nodded. Did he include my investments in founders who wouldn't sell? The 3 companies I partially funded because their vision was worth preserving? Dominic's voice remained calm, but emotion tightened his features. There are patterns, Olivia, but they're not the ones you've been shown. He placed a folder on the table. These are the revised terms I was bringing to you that night. Joint development. Research prioritizing medical applications. Your continued involvement not as a figurehead, but as a partner. Olivia opened it with trembling fingers. The document matched almost exactly what she had demanded 3 days later. Why didn't you call me out when I accused you? She whispered. Because trust can't be demanded, only earned. He moved closer, his voice softening. When we met, I saw someone who valued purpose over profit. It made me remember why I started building in the first place. The articles say what sells subscriptions. His smile was sad. I've made mistakes, Olivia. I've prioritized winning over wisdom. But with you, I found something I didn't realize I'd lost. A genuine connection to why the work matters. Rain continued to fall outside, blurring the city lights. I need you to see something, Dominic said quietly. Will you come with me? One last time? Against her better judgment, Olivia followed him to the research facility. Instead of going upstairs, they descended to a floor she hadn't visited before. The space was filled with prototype equipment and test stations. Graham was there, working with a team of engineers and physical therapists. He looked up and grinned. The library lady returns. Perfect timing. With help, he moved to a specialized framework of supports and sensors. Dr. Winters adjusted the neural interface headset. Now, redesigned with elements from Josephine's patents, we've been working around the clock, Dominic explained. Integrating your aunt's approach with our existing system. Graham gave a thumbs up. Ready when you are, Doc. The room hushed as the system activated. Slowly, with visible effort but unmistakable control, Graham took a supported step forward. Then another. Tears streamed down his face as the team erupted in cheers. It's just the beginning, Dominic said softly. With or without a merger, this work will continue. I've established a separate foundation to fund it. Olivia turned to him, understanding flooding through her. You did this while I was shutting you out. Some things matter more than pride or misunderstandings. His eyes held hers. I realized something these past months, Olivia. Success isn't measured in acquisitions or market share. It's measured in lives changed. You reminded me of that. As they stood witness to Graham's determined steps, Olivia finally recognized the truth. The language of trust wasn't found in contracts or news articles or even words. It was written in actions, in choices made when no one was watching, in putting others' needs before your own interests. I think, she said finally, we have a partnership to discuss. Dominic's smile reached his eyes. I was hoping you'd say that. In the quiet space between who they had been and who they were becoming, they had discovered something rare. A connection built not on power, status, or appearances, but on seeing each other's true character and value. What began in doubt had transformed, through honesty and proven worth, into something neither had expected to find in the shadow of business empires and boardroom negotiations. A foundation of genuine trust and understanding that promised to change more than just their company's futures.